Hello and welcome to Enquire to Choir. My name is Eva and I'm here to help you, fellow choir people. Listen, we are in the middle of a heat wave here in Croatia, and I thought we are due for a light-hearted video here on the channel because we keep talking about physics and how to get performances, and we're all serious. We keep talking about being a choir director, and we haven't spoken about the benefits of being a choir director. I keep sharing here on the channel that it's not a simple job, it's not an easy job, you have to really do a lot as a choir director, and I keep repeating that nobody knows how it is if they have never been a choir director. But that's all negative talk, you know? I wanted to do something like this just to prove a point that being a choir director is a lovely job, not just in oh, I stand in front of a group and they do what I tell them to do, or oh, I get to wear pretty dresses while performing. There are many articles and talks about why it's good to be a choir member, a choir singer, and these are all great, but I wanted to touch on the benefits, the unexpected benefits I've noticed during my choir directing career. These lessons can go a little bit metaphysical, you know, and a little bit unusual, but that's the point of the video, for someone to tell you like it is. So let's start with the video. What are the unexpected benefits of being a choir director? The first benefit, and the whole reason why I thought of this video, is something that one of my friends noticed, and she is in one of my choirs, and she told me that it's always impressive to see that I'm always in the zone. When we have a performance, I am all in. And then I started thinking about that, and that is actually true. I, with time, had to learn how to be present. When I come to the rehearsal, when I come to the performance, I have to let go of everything that is going on in my private life. I have to forget about it for a second for the length of the rehearsal in order to be present. One of the main things that people say is the most difficult to achieve in life is to be in the moment. We always think about the past, the future, what will happen. We have our struggles, we have our worries. But when I arrive to the rehearsal, it doesn't matter what is going on in my life. I have to leave it at the door and I have to be very present. 95% of me has to be there in every way in order to give a rehearsal. Not even a good rehearsal, a rehearsal. Because when many people stand in front of you and they're there because they expect you to do your job, you have to do it. That applies to every job. But there's something about having a group of people in front of you. And if you have a bad energy, if you're not present mentally, it affects the rehearsal and it affects the performance. Why is that a benefit? Because that translated into my life. While I'm in a situation, while I'm going through something and I'm thinking about it and I'm really, sorry and I have to resolve that and it's not easy, but that doesn't affect my whole life, My whole life doesn't stop. It just goes on with that present in my life. When you have to let go of everything that is going on in your life, every time you see your choir, somehow while practicing that muscle, it goes in the rest of your life. I am able to be in the moment. And I'm sure that that comes from the job I do, because while we are at a performance, everything depends on me. I have to give the cues. I have to instruct everyone what to do. I am responsible for the whole group. We live in a very fast-paced life. To be able to, center yourself every time you come to the rehearsal, I think that's a really great benefit. And I feel like it improved my life because I could separate my suffering from myself because I'm able to put it aside for at least half an hour. I also learned how to trust the process and give it time. There is no other way when it comes to choirs. When we are working on a piece, you can do some things really fast, but still, even if you learn a choir piece, the choir needs time for it to become mature. I'm not a person who is actually, oh, just let it go with the flow. I'm not that person. But definitely, I learned to just give it time, And I cherish the fact that for certain choir piece, music score, it really needs time. And I instruct my choirs. Sometimes I really give them a song that they have to take months for, because I want them to trust the process, to see how the process goes, to see how things improve. And that also translated into my life. I mean, I learned that I cannot resolve every conflict immediately. Some things need time. Not everything can be achieved momentarily. I cannot change my life immediately in a single moment. Every time, you can do many things, but some things take time, some decisions take time, some developments take time. So I'm practicing that every time I'm working with one of my choirs, but that also translated into my life. I learned to give it time and trust the process. And of course, as musicians, I'm a pianist, so I know that you have to practice for certain things to become audible, But it's different when you're in front of a group of people. You can't hurry choir. You can support them to achieve the best they can, but certain things take time. And that became something I recognize in my life too. Speaking of, do you know that song, Que Sera Sera? Whatever will be, will be. Working with choirs has made me a more trusting person when it comes to this. There is only so much you can do. You can practice everything. You can have everything practiced so much that it's perfect. But as a choir director, I learned when everything is practiced and we are at the performance, I stand in front of my choir, I give them the pitch, the sign, the cue, and then whatever happens, happens. You can't predict it. You can try, but every time something happens that you didn't predict, some things turn out better, some things turn out really unexpectedly bad. It happened a few times that I realized during the performance that some things were not practiced well enough. My point is, I have to let go. I've done the things I could have done, and then it's just whatever will be, will be. When we are at the performance, things just happen, Music is time and can't control what happens. We can just trust that we are prepared for whatever happens. The future is not ours to see, and that's in a very small scale. I experience that every time while we are performing as a choir. Okay, this may seem like a silly one, but it's true. One of the biggest benefits of being a choir director is that I am in shape. I'm not even kidding. I'm 34, but when I was younger, I think I would be the least likely person to stay in shape. Not because I'm lazy, but because I had all this stuff to do, educate myself and getting a job and playing piano. And I never thought that I would be, in shape, but I have to be. When I'm at rehearsals, when I'm doing a performance, that's exercise, that's physical movement. I've been a choir director for 11 years, so that's 11 years of doing things with your arms and standing and moving a lot. I'm in shape because that's the nature of the job, but because I also have to stay in shape. As I'm getting older, I've noticed that I don't have as much energy. I'm definitely seeing a very big difference between my choir singers who are 20 years old, and I have to stay in shape. So it became a really huge part of my life to exercise, to do strength exercises. I have to watch my back. I have to watch how I move. I have to be able to physically endure whatever is going on. I'm sure that when you have a performance, you are physically exhausted afterwards. That's because it is physically exhausting. Not to mention, during the rehearsals, I yell. I mean, for everyone to hear me, I have to speak really loudly. I have to take really deep breaths in order to do the correct vocal technique. I'm singing a lot during the rehearsal, which is also something that is physically more demanding than just standing. Yeah, I consider that to be a really big benefit and something I will definitely be able to recognize as an even bigger benefit in a few years when things start to be different when it comes to all of the age thing. I think that's a really big benefit of the job, and I never heard anyone say it. Okay, another benefit is I have a routine that is not a burden. Meaning every day is different. Being a choir director means that rehearsals are scheduled, but not every day is the same. For example, I have currently 4 choirs. Every day I have a rehearsal with a different choir. That means that every day for me is different. And when it comes to performances, every performance is different, every repertoire is different, every occasion is different, every audience is different. Every situation is different. So the routine is there because it's scheduled, but the variety is always present. So I have order in my life, but it's always something new. That also goes for the way my year looks like. Most of the people I know have a steady job and then they are looking forward to holidays if they're lucky enough to have a proper holiday. It's not like that in choir directing positions because, for example, my choir concert season starts in September. So during September, we are starting everything. There are auditions. In October, all of the rehearsals have started. We're coming back to it. We are working on our vocal technique again. So we are getting back into shape. Then in November, we are singing better. We have already learned certain scores. And then in December, there is the first peak, which is the Christmas season. There are lots of concerts, lots of performances, and it's really hectic time. Every year it's the same. Every year the cycle repeats itself. That is very comforting because we have a routine on a macrocosmos level. I can see the bigger picture, and if I'm in the middle of February thinking, why aren't there any performances happening? I know that's because in February it is a calm period when it comes to those. Working season after season, it turned out that I'm always prepared what is coming next because I'm used to that cycle. So my body, even my body, is really used to the amount of physical endurance I have to have. I have the time to develop certain things, and I'm grateful for it. I mentioned singers. One of the biggest benefits, I meet a lot of people. That's just the nature of the job because you are the person who stands in front of a choir. So not only does your choir have more people than other groups usually have, other regular groups of people in social situations have. They have their families, their friends, their life outside of the choir. So you get to meet their people sometimes. You get to meet the audience. You get to meet the organization, boards of events. You get to meet new people at events. In general, it is a really great networking opportunity. I definitely meet a lot of people, more people than I would ever have met if I weren't doing this job. And I've met very important people for the country. I've met all of the presidents we've ever had. We are only 30 something years old as a country, so but I've met every president, musicians. I've had many opportunities to meet musicians. And if I want to meet someone else, who I want to meet, I know people who could help me. So I don't want to lie to you. It's a very good perk of the job. So, yeah. While we're being honest, it's a very cool topic to discuss. Every time I'm in a social situation and every time I tend to keep quiet, I don't mention what I do because it's just It always turns into a conversation. But that said, it always turns into a conversation. I have never ever said that I was a choir director without the reaction being, really? Okay, let's be honest. The next question is always, but what do you do for real? And then I have to say, that is my job, that is my career. It's a conversation topic that is good, and it's a very good CV point to have. Putting that into your CV, saying I am a choir director of this and this choir, says good things about you, because that means that you have been chosen to be the leader of a group and you are managing a group of people. That also means that you are more memorable than some other people. That sounds really bad of me saying that, but it is true. And there are not many choir directors out there. We live in a very tough world and connections matter, knowing your name matters, so I can't lie. It's a benefit. What I also realized during the years is that I may not be talking to my people in the choir. I'm not asking them questions about their life, etc. But there is something about standing in front of a group every week, feeling the energy in the room and feeling the energy of certain people, looking at their faces all of the time, having to recognize that they're having a bad day, they're having a good day, something good happened, something bad happened. You learn to recognize the energies people have. And I'm not talking about, cuckoo stuff. It's just a fact of life. People have their energies, and the way they emit energy into the world is different for every person. I learned to recognize certain things, certain patterns, certain behaviors. That translated into my life because I've managed to fine-tune my intuition when it comes to people. There is something to be said about the way we communicate to our choir. Not every person takes the criticism really well. People take it really personally. I have to watch what I say. And I just learned that people communicate very differently. People are different. And I know we know that. We know that people are different. But at the same time, I think we expect that people behave the same way as we do, and when you are in a certain situation, that they will react the same way that we do. For example, if a certain place in the score is not practiced well enough, it's not perfected, and they have to sing, there are certain people who will fight, who will do their best, and there are certain people who will just stay silent because they're scared of even trying. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that one are weaker and one are stronger. It just means that we approach different situations in a different way. And I have to say that with time, with doing a lot of things, with meeting a lot of people, with working a lot with choirs, it turns out that I can talk to people better. I'm not perfect. I have my flaws. But for that very reason, it is good for me to be a choir director. It turns out that after a while, you recognize the patterns and the facts of life, and it becomes better. I consider that working as a choir director made my relationships, all of my relationships in my life, better. And finally, one of the biggest benefits of this job is that I'm able to express myself. I think that's very important. I'm not saying that I'm ordering people what they have to do, or I am telling my stories to the people in the choir, expecting lavish compliments because I am who I am. But the fact that I'm speaking and that I'm heard and that I have to say my opinions, I have to put myself out there, I have to express myself in order to get feedback. Lots of people don't have the opportunity to express themselves. A lot of people do not have the opportunity to just be heard. And maybe I'm not heard in the biggest way. Nobody's asking me, well, how do you feel? What are your worries? Nobody's asking me that, especially not my choirs. But I am expressing myself a lot of the times, and that makes me a less anxious person because I'm not keeping it inside all of the time. A certain amount of energy has to come out of me every rehearsal and especially every performance. So the stress in my life, in my being, is definitely less than it would be if I weren't a choir director. These benefits are also metaphysical. I hope you're not thinking, well, Eva has completely gone bye-bye because of the heat. But I just wanted to show it in a more important way. It's not a trivial thing that you're a choir director. You're influencing people around you. What are the benefits you have experienced? We always talk about difficulties, what we don't know, what we know, what we want to know, but we don't have the opportunity to know, and we always think about how much we don't know. But what are the things that have proved to be the biggest benefits of you working with your choir? I would be very happy to know, because we should celebrate being a choir director. I mean, it's a great job to have. Here on the channel, there are other videos about lessons I've learned throughout the years. I will put a playlist here. That said, we are approaching a milestone for the channel, so there will be a Q&A, maybe even next week. So if you have any questions, they can be personal even, they can be about your choir, they can be how the channel is working, and if you want to know anything, you can let me know. You can put it down below, you can email me, ask what you wish. If you find something too personal, I will just not answer it, so you can take a shot. If you wish to stick around, you can subscribe, you can watch all of the other videos here, there are a lot of them. Thank you for watching. Conduct well, conductors, and I'll see you next time. Bye!